Hey guys, thanks for checking in today. The riff that I want to talk about today comes from a band called Pantera. Remember a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about Metallica, it was kind of my experience as a child that I couldn't imagine anything heavier or more intense than Metallica's music. And then one day my older brother introduced me to Pantera, and he had a couple of their albums. He had Vulgar Display of Power and Far Beyond Driven, and kind of introduced me to that sound and style. And I think the first song I ever heard from them was probably "This Love," and that song goes places. So everything about their music seemed to kind of be a step up from what I had heard from Metallica. The vocals were more aggressive, and Phil had more of a dynamic range. He could really sing, he could scream, growl. He made all sorts of fun sounds with his mouth. And then Dimebag's guitar tone it's hard to describe his guitar tone without using ridiculous hyperbole or adjectives like bone crushing and silly things like that, but that's really what it's about. He has incredibly heavy guitar tone. It's largely achieved by a scoop mid-range, pulling the mid-frequencies down and boosting the low and the highs, but it just punches in a way that most people never ever achieved. It just didn't make sounds like that. So fantastic music. I ended up getting familiar with the band kind of a different way though, because although Brad had the albums, I didn't get a chance to listen to him very much until he left on his mission. So the way I kind of found out about their music was when I was in 6th grade and probably into 7th grade. After school, my buddy Nick and we used to go to the Magna Public Library and check out music at the library, and it became a pretty incredible way to discover new bands or dive deep into discographies, find songs from bands that we liked that you couldn't hear on the radio. And so I got a lot of exposure to Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd, as well as Nine Inch Nails and White Zombie, Megadeth, and Pantera. So I remember actually getting from the library their album Cowboys from Hell. Now Pantera kind of had that was kind of like their second debut album. They'd had like 4 albums before Cowboys from Hell came out, but the music was almost unrecognizable in comparison to what most people would know from them today. It was more of a glam hair metal kind of thing, but when Cowboys from Hell came out, it was totally different. Very, very heavy, faster music, more aggressive vocals like I've talked about. And then from there on, the next 4 albums they had were all pretty serious and hardcore. So anyway, I remember getting that album from the library, and it was kind of funny because back then, what we would do, Nick and I, is we would get this music from the library, and then like the next day at recess, he would bring his little Sony Discman that had 2 headphone outs on it, and we'd plug in our headphones and we'd just sit in a field somewhere listening to music and kind of sharing what we'd found. And so when other boys were playing kickball or whatever, running around kissing girls, me and Fifus were laying out in the field somewhere listening to Pantera and similar bands. And so it's super nerdy when I think back on it, but it was a pretty cool way to experience new music, sharing that with a buddy. The sky was the limit too, because the library system would basically let you get whatever you wanted, for better or worse. So what I'm going to play right now is the title track from the album Cowboys from Hell. It starts off with a really cool low-y palm muted loop that goes ducka 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 ducka, and then plays the riff that I'll play. I'll have a version of the song below, like always. Go check it out. Pantera's a great band. This is a good introduction to them. They're pretty heavy. Maybe not for everybody, but go at least give it a listen. Here's Cowboys from Hell. Super heavy, super groovy. Go give it a listen. Cheers.